Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm President, CEO, and founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. And here today on Simplenight Presents, we're going to be talking to my good friend Sanjay Bhatia. We're going to be talking about exactly how Gen Alpha is changing everything. So I'd like to bring my friend Sanjay on board.
Hello.
Hi, Sanjay.
Happy Friday, Gary.
You've been a pioneer in analytics, data science, and AI for years. How do you see your journey influencing the way and the view of emerging Gen Alpha? Because you and I talked about it, right? The Gen Alpha is totally different. How are they as a consumer?
Well, they are beyond digital natives. They've almost grown up in this era of social media. And in some ways, they're more conservative. They don't like the life results that the millennials have achieved. And so they're very contrarian in a number of ways. As consumers, they haven't really started purchasing yet. They're definitely very much into the iPad. So versus having a phone and a laptop and having multiple devices, they're buying iPads as as their primary thing, and just having that as their only device. Sometimes even using it as their phone. The talk, rarely do they talk on the phone. It's almost
Really? They're using
never.
iPads. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, the younger ones, it's almost a problem where they can't turn the iPad off for like a. There's been some memes about like when flights are taking off and you got to turn your device off, and the Gen Alphas can't. They can't do it. Um, and
Wow,
they'll
that's
throw a
insane.
fit. So they're a very broad generation in terms of extremes. So in one case, you see like the iPod tantrums, and there's something called Skibbity Toilet, which is like this. It's got more views I think than Joe Rogan. It's crazy, and it's too fast paced for probably our generation to even watch. I mean, it's so fast. I remember, I guess, when I was a kid, the video games are coming out like Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario Kart and things like that. My mom couldn't watch it because it was too fast. I have that experience with like some of their content where it's like so fast paced you can't even handle it. And so so one extreme, it's like things like that, like very short attention span patients. On the other hand, they've really analyzed the more the millennial results, and going to college, working corporate, like some of these things, and they kind of understand this is no way to retire. And so one article is very interesting how they're signing up on LinkedIn early, even though they're not old enough to be on it technically. They lie about their age or however they do it. They get on LinkedIn early, looking for internships, looking for opportunities, looking for clients, and they're actually connecting with each other and using it as a dating app. So
Wow, that's unbelievable.
these things that just aren't working, college dating apps for millennials, right? They sort of see that they see like reality, because I think they came of age sort of. We went through this era of a lot of censorship, right? You couldn't talk about certain things like the virus, and a lot of topics were just banned by the government or social media platforms. And so they kind of came out on the other side of that, where it's like, wow, the world was very dishonest, and these things, college dating apps, is just two examples that there's a lot of data on now. They see like they want to see truth. So I think they like Grok a lot. Like Grok is very, I mean, the mission of Grok is really, I mean, I use Grok as well, but it's very truth oriented. So it's not as biased, not as politically correct, and it'll kind of tell it like it is. And so they're much more aligned with this more scientific, more factual. They don't have a lot of tolerance for marketing and marketing fluff and things that are just. I mean, there's a bunch of products that just have, just no actual advantage to competitors, but they're just very well marketed. So whether you're talking about luxury items, or there's certain there's multi-billion dollar companies selling carbon caffeinated water, right? So things like that, you can't, they won't buy those things. They understand it's caffeinated water, and you shouldn't be paying a lot for caffeinated water just because it has a cool can or a good name, and everyone's doing it. So they're very interesting. They have the broadest spectrum of kind of focuses that we've ever seen.
So, so the Gen Alpha will grow up never knowing a world without AI driven personalization. How do you see this shaping the way they plan and experience travel?
So let's start with kind of school and work, right? So we're in an environment where schools are banning AI and the use of it, and employers are firing people who don't use AI. And so there's a very big disconnect, and that's perhaps why they see school as something that isn't really for them. When what the employer is saying is the exact opposite of what the school is saying, they see that dichotomy, right? So in terms of travel, they're really getting a lot more into the augmented reality VR. They're very much they grew up with the availability of Meta headsets. Apple Vision Pro is not quite something that's out there yet for them, but they're used to this idea of augmented reality, whether it's on phone apps like there's Pokemon games where you sort of explore. So they were born into the world where that was already very popular, and
Mhm.
that's just normal to them to see the world through a screen or a pair of. That's also why I'm very bullish on smart glasses with very minimal interfaces for someone like me. But they might want the versions that have a much richer experience, like they're speculating the Vision Pro is going to have like an Air version that's lighter weight and smaller and cheaper that they'll probably consume. So it's kind of like plug your iPad into uh, AR glasses, which is already possible today. This isn't sci-fi. You can just, buy. There's a bunch of affordable AR glasses you can, and then the app. I think what Apple's doing is very interesting, right? So they are making one. They're renaming older operating systems to 26 to be more like the year, the year the cars do it, or the next year, and they're going glassmorphic, and they call it liquid glass on everything. It's not, like right now the Vision Pro and the Apple Watch and the iPhone and your Mac, they all have like different interfaces, different paradigms, and so it's all can be universal. And I think one reason Apple's going in this direction, they see Gen Alpha very comfortable with this idea of augmented reality, which requires translucent interfaces, right? So you have your iPad, they're already, using iPads as a primary device. And so what if they want to get some work done? What do they do? How do they use their iPad to get some work done? It's not one, you're getting the clicky mouse pointer so you can actually do precise work. It has incredibly good second monitor support. And so when you connect an iPad now in iOS 26 with a giant monitor, like you get some really good results. For them, the giant monitor isn't going to be an HD TV like it would be perhaps for us, or a big screen on your desk. Their giant monitor is going to be AR glasses. So they'll have their iPad all the time. This is my thinking. And then when they want to get more serious work done, they plug that in the AR glasses, and they have virtual monitors and perhaps a virtual keyboard or even a real keyboard. And so they have these accessories when they're not mobile. And so you come home, you just plug you plug your AR glasses, or you may not have to plug them in. They'll be wireless as well. So you come home, you want to get more serious work done. You pull out your keyboard, and you pull out your which has a mouse integrated in this sometimes, and then you plug in your giant display, but it's not real. It's a virtual display through AR glasses that could be wireless, or even if you plug it in, it's just one cord. And so they're looking at the world from that perspective. Things we never thought about, right? Like I never thought about getting rid. Let me get rid of my iPhone, my MacBook, and just have AR glasses and an iPad, and that's going to be my way of computing for forever, or for the next foreseeable duration of time. But that's what they're looking at. That's as they become adults, that's how they're going to work.
So then, when you're looking at a destination and you're traveling, will be driven less by word of mouth and more by the technology, these immersive experiences with AR and VR to be able to help them understand. Do we even need to travel anymore, Sanjay? I mean,
Yeah, of course. Of course, you travel. You travel to meet people. That I mean, Gen Alpha is more oriented toward in person, because they see the results of this kind of purely virtual way of living, and they don't like that. But they're going to use AI to plan their trip, and they may, then feed that into, some kind of AR software. They might use, like, I mean, I use something called Flight Simulator, and so sometimes if I'm traveling somewhere, I'll go fly around in a virtual plane. They're going to do things differently, but they'll sort of like pre-explore so that they're
And then when you're
experts.
flying around in the plane, what are you doing?
I just, fly around the pyramids, like, go to landmarks and just sort of explore the city from instead of Google Maps, like just sort of like fly around the city ahead of
Now, do
time
you
so I
put it
can.
on your notebook, or what do you do?
No, I mean that requires an Xbox or a powerful laptop today, and so you need a high end machine, or you can or you can, that's not true. There's a cloud, you can do it through the cloud, so that's probably what Gen Alpha would do. They'll run Xbox app on their iPad, run a flight simulator. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what I do, but they're not necessarily doing flight simulator. They're probably doing more, drone type stuff, and they have drones, and so
No,
you drone around.
that would be fun. That would be a good thing
Yeah,
for a
you just drone around
aerial
your city, before you get
tour.
going there. Drone around and just kind of get to know it. That way, like you feel like you've been there in a way, and you have a better lay of land.
By the way, have you been flying your drone around lately?
Yeah.
So, how might Gen Alpha's environmental consciousness affect the type of experiences that they choose?
Well, they're in a confusing time because there's been, I think the environmental movement has been hijacked by industry in a lot of ways. There's a number of things, that were very inauthentic. So they have to see through that, but they're going to be, raising families one day in this world where there's climate change. I mean, the food supply is really, really bad in the United States and, some other countries as well. But they're very much affected by these things more dramatically. So how they're voting, how they're buying, you're already seeing really restaurants opening up that are like, there's one called Naked Farmer near me in Fort Lauderdale, where it's like they don't use the seed oils, they don't use some of these things that are, have been shown through legitimate research not to be so good for you. They're more, health conscious, and I'd say, we were health conscious in a way where we were responding to marketing. You had like, a wave of, fats are bad and salt is bad and all these things are perhaps actually good for you when used properly are bad for you. And then it got very confusing. And now we're kind of re-entering this, I think, a more scientific era where, you have actual stuff. I mean, half the food I eat now is lab certified. It's very, I do the Brian Johnson, I do Prolon, but you just can't order food on Amazon anymore. And so, in bodybuilders, they use some called NSA. It's like lab certified protein, and that's part of the kidney thing. You and I both kind of experience in some ways is the protein quality in these foods is problematic. So there's we're getting to this returning to this era of now it should be the government doing it. They used to do this, but now it's third party labs and certain um, companies and entrepreneurs that are focused on this. So they're entering a world where it's like, okay, well, you have to eat, you got to get a lab to certify your food, or it's probably not any good. And Whole Foods was a phenomenon for a
I
while.
mean, there's so many
Now it's
junk. I
Amazon.
remember when I was a kid growing up, we had Sugar Pops and all kinds of Captain Crunch and all kinds of things. And you look at what ingredients are in a lot of those cereals, and they're not good for you. You know what I mean? A lot of sugar, a lot of stuff,
Well,
carbs.
sugar was bad enough. It's the thing is not even sugar anymore. It's high fructose corn syrup that's GMO'd, and it's maltodextrin, which is very
Mhm.
inflammatory. And so you got diabetics eating foods with maltodextrin, which is not good for blood sugar. So there's an inauthenticity that has been marketed to us recently. Now we're kind of coming out of that because part of it because Elon bought Twitter and freed it up. Like you're allowed to talk about things again. And so, for a while we were really suppressing scientific information. So they're coming into a world where that suppression is kind of, been reduced, and they're eating differently. It'll be a major change. I think Mr. Beast is doing a consumer packaged goods brand that's going to be oriented towards some of this stuff. And so we're going to see the leaders,
Who's that? Mr. Beast?
yeah, he's one of the top YouTubers, one of the youngest self-made billionaires ever.
Hmm. Interesting. So, from gaming to interactive streaming, Gen Alpha is immersed in these on-demand, co-created experiences. What do you think is going to happen in terms of way they consume and participate in content?
So they're very directly involved. In fact, a lot of these sort of weirder things you see on the internet with comments, especially when it's like themes like say dating apps or like kind of things that are more oriented toward adults. People have done research on like the weird. A lot of the comments are actually Gen Alpha, and so they like pretending they're older and commenting on things and having debates
How
online.
old
Even
are they? How old is a Gen Alpha?
the youngest ones are just turning 18, or the oldest ones rather are just turning 18. I can't remember the exact definition, but they're not they're just emerging as adults now, just leaving high school as the oldest ones. So they're teenagers, the ones that are starting to make decisions, and but they're in the world. They're pretending they're older. They're on LinkedIn. They're commenting on relatively sophisticated material, um, that that they're technically not supposed to be, but they're doing it. So they're maturing faster in that way because they're involved and they're very proactive in that way.
Interesting. Do you think AI generated entertainment tailored in real time to users' mood could be the new normal? So that so hyper personalized, you're feeling down, here's something to make you feel good. You're feeling wild, here's an adventure movie. Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't know, because part of what makes content successful is its virality. And when things are tailored toward an individual, they're not really going to share it, in a way that resonates with other people. And so that is yet to be seen. I think you are going to see just more content, and more micro niches. I think Weird Al Yankovic, who, if you haven't seen the movie about him, it's really very very original, very mind blowing. Makes you
Oh, I got
question
to
his.
check that out. When did that come out? By the way, I haven't
I,
seen. What,
I saw it last year. I can't remember when it came out, but it's fairly recent. But it really makes you question like your own history after watching it. But it's very well done. But one thing he has said is that he was doing parodies, and so when he was very popular doing parodies, there were only so many popular songs. The top 20 really was 20. There were 20 songs, and if he did a parody of a couple of those, he got very successful. Today, there's not really that top 20. There's a lot broader range of entertainment, of artists, and so I don't think it'll be hyper personalized down to the individual because then it doesn't go viral. But you're going to see a lot more long tail, and just like Netflix did with there are only so many movies that were produced once upon a time, right? So Netflix and now HBO and Apple's doing it. Like a lot of these tech companies are actually making movies because they have data on these micro niches and where they can focus. So I think you'll see micro niching more than you'll see individually tailored video because people want to like I just told you about the Weird Al movie, right? Most people probably won't see it, but some people will. And so he's even saying that because of this phenomenon of more long tail entertainment, he can't make a parody and expect to get the kind of success that he would before. Like when Thriller came out, everybody saw Thriller, right? When Michael Jackson was big, like he could just parody Michael Jackson. It was very easy and he could be successful that way. Well, it's not that anymore. You don't have that same top 20 where the majority of people are familiar with those top 20 songs.
how do you think traditional media companies are going to need to adapt? How's everything going to change in terms of this new world with this hyper personalization, the AR and VR, like you talked about? And how fast do you think it's going to be? I mean, did you get your Meta goggles yet? Do you have those or not?
No, I'm looking at the Celeste editions, which aren't out yet. They might be available before the holiday season. They haven't announced a release date yet, but they'll have. They're supposed to have. They're supposed to be like the Oakleys, but also have some sort of screen form factor on it.
So, do you think that the traditional media companies are going to change? Do you think everything's going to be
Although
so?
I will say, I keep more and more situations emerge where I'm like, I wish I had the glasses because I want to film this right now, and so partly because they're water and weatherproof, and so I'm seeing the need more and more to have them. I've been taking more of an action cam with me. It's very durable. I don't have to worry about. I mean, I have really nice Sony cameras, but they're fragile, and expensive, so I don't want to take that everywhere. And and these little, I use the DJI Action 5, and so you can have it in the ocean. You can just kind of like, you can drop it. You don't have to worry about things like that. And so I've been actually creating AI music videos with that, which is, so you can have these. And then I'm like, wow, if I had the sunglasses, that would be even better right now. So it's gonna. I'm pretty
So will
bullish
the
on that.
sunglasses act like a camera?
Yeah, they have cameras.
I wonder how good the resolution is on the new
The new
glasses.
ones is the battery life and the resolution roughly doubled, and so they're getting better. I mean, it's not going to be as good as, it may not even be as good as your phone camera yet. But really what I'm seeing is the possibility is you can record things perhaps at a lower quality, but AI enhance it in post, and so you'll be able to simulate higher resolutions and quality just through AI editing, and be able to use a camera that's not a, I mean, even right now, right? I'm using AI, like this, the way this cord looks, Apple, using the local background feature. And so like traditional stuff can't do this. This cord is sort of AI enhanced. The camera and resolution I'm on is not as good as it actually looks. So we're already there, right? So imagine now your smart glasses just auto feed into, I mean, even the iPhone, it's computational photography. It can't, it fakes being a SLR camera, right? So its lenses aren't that great. They're very small sensors, but using a bunch of tricks, combining multiple shots and computational photography and AI, it sort of like fakes being a better camera than it really is. And it's for a lot. There's been films made with the iPhone now. And so we're going to just see more and more of that, where the visual quality of everything is AI improved anyway. And so you know, I think there's a pleasure of having a real camera, but the results are, with the AI enhancement getting better and better all the time. You can even have a pretty low quality camera in your glasses, and potentially AI upsize it and enhance it to where it looks like a $10,000 camera.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, do you think we're going to see a shift from app-based ecosystems to AI as an interface, where the
Oh,
experience
absolutely.
really follows users across platform? I mean, because that's what's going to happen, right? To hyper personalize and devices. So it's going to follow you, kind of like, I say your grandmother, right? Follow you around and care about you with empathy and compassion. But how fast do you think that's going to happen? Where
Oh,
we
one
have
of the biggest
an
trends right now, and I use it like when I'm showing, I kind of show people this when I show them Grok, but Grok has companions, and one of them's an anime character. There's also these sort of a good and bad version of this. I guess it's a bear, some kind of more of an animal, but
They're
they're
smiling. What does the bear do? What's
what
the bad?
there's a good, it's I think it's Rudy, good Rudy and bad Rudy. So good Rudy is just like you're describing your grandmother, very very beneficial, very caring, and bad Rudy's the opposite. It's just using foul language, it's insulting you, it's funny. And so there's a good and bad version. So it's not just your grandmother. Sometimes you want the opposite. And so actually, I think we're there, Gary. The grandmother thing you've been talking about for years. Good Rudy is probably an example of that. It's just like a cartoon character. But we also have the bad version. I think the bad version is more popular actually, but it looks the same, but it speaks. It's just foul language, insults. Like it makes fun of you. So you got both ends of it now, and this is real, and the usage is exploding.
So, what do you think? One of the things. So, we just talked about AI as an interface, being able to follow you everywhere. But the other side of it is that Gen Alpha is going to be the most tracked generation in history. And how do you think their views on data privacy will differ from older generations? Do you think they're going to accept it? Do you think they're going to push it back and say that they want data? How can you have both worlds, right? How can you have data privacy and at the same time have it follow you everywhere?
I don't think it's even a Gen Alpha thing. I can't remember who was saying this recently, but they were having a conversation with data privacy and AI, and then they followed up with the comment, but nobody under 40 cares. So it's not even Gen Alpha. I think you're looking at younger millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. They just assume they're being tracked, and when they need to hide something, they have Snapchat. They know how to hide the things they need to hide, but they assume anything you don't deliberately hide is tracked and recorded forever.
So, do you think that brands are going to have to strike a balance between hyper personalization and really creepy? Because there's a point where it's tracking you everywhere and it starts to could get creepy, right? How do we strike a balance between that hyper personalization and understanding who you are, and at the same time, knowing too much about you?
I mean, I think we are already past the creepy thing with TikTok. TikTok, it's been documented that it sends a significant amount of data back to the servers. I mean, all of the apps do that in different ways, but TikTok actually, some of these things like listening to you when it's not the active app, or, we don't know exactly what data it's sending, but we know that the volume of data being sent on TikTok is tremendously greater than Instagram or Facebook or or X or anything. And so I think people have just had this experience of they talked about something and then ads show up for it. And so
It
I
happens
think,
to me every day, Sanjay. You can't imagine. It's
yeah.
unbelievable. I was talking about a Suzuki 125 that I had when I was a kid. And I just happened to mention, all of a sudden ads start popping up of these antique, right? Old, exactly that motorcycle. And that motorcycle is extremely rare, right? And it just came up. I couldn't believe it, actually.
Yeah,
And
the experience I've had is, I guess I probably I'm probably more careful with my data, and so I haven't had as much of that happen to me. But definitely, I've seen when people are like on my Wi-Fi, and we're having some conversation or whatever it is, and then I start seeing ads on my YouTube of what we I was talking to that person with. So their phone being on my Wi-Fi affects the ads that I see.
oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
creepy. So, tell us a little bit about, you didn't talk much about Run Day. Tell a little bit about Run Day and the kind of things that you're working on.
Yeah, so we're uniting human and AI sales agents to really help businesses grow. We just had some recent successes where, we've had customers that on their newest version where, they've been trying to reach out to somebody and have a conversation for years. And in 6 weeks, Runday is able to sort of like hyper personalize the messaging to that individual and take that offer and phrase it in a way that gets through multiple layers of gatekeepers, the security software, the Gemini, the actual executive assistant, and gets to that executive and gets them, replying and having conversations so you can start doing business together. And so we're very much about like really hyper personalizing things with advanced compute in a way that really creates value for both sides.
No, it's fantastic. Listen, we're coming up to the top of the show. Closing thoughts on how do people get a hold of you?
Just email me at sanjay@rundata.ai or go to the website and sign up.
Sounds great. So, to all of you out there, check out Run Day. It's an incredible, incredible tool to be able to help you. And talk a little bit about how it can help with sales and those kind of things, Sanjay.
Well, salespeople today, they want leads delivered to them. They want appointments and positive replies. They don't want to hunt. That's something, lower value. You have companies in, third world countries doing that now. So, you hire a high end salesperson, they kind of expect that to be handled, and they're just receiving, leads that are coming in that they get to talk to. They don't have to go find people. And so that's really what Runday does. It's uniting humans and AIs in a way where I mean, we had a record day last Thursday actually, where every single 30-minute block on my calendar was booked by the AIs. I just, I don't get bathroom breaks, but I just show up, every 30 minutes and I'm jumping on another call and I'm not doing any scouting. No one's doing it for me. It's all the AI doing the work.
No, that's fantastic. Sounds great. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us today. And thanks to all of you for joining one more time. I appreciate it. We are at about 1.4 million views. So it's to each of you. We've hit 1,400 podcasts. And again, it's all to you. So stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And we'll be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. Take care, everybody. And thank you, Sanjay.
Thanks, Gary.